From the Ministry of the Presidency in Georgetown, this is This Week with the President.
Welcome to another edition of This Week with the President, a weekly news magazine which provides you with an in-depth look at the policies, programs, and work of Guyana's President. I'm your host, Vinita Mishra. In the highlights this week, Guyanese celebrate Holi, President satisfied with peaceful conduct of local government polls, and President urged Chamber of Commerce to seize economic potential of the regions. Stay with us. Despite low voter turnout, the return of local democracy to the hands of the ordinary people is an achievement of no small measure. Local government elections have empowered citizens across the 10 administrative regions to embark on coherent economic development programs. President Granger, during a press briefing on March 19, said that he was satisfied with the entire process, particularly the peaceful manner in which the polls were conducted.
The coalition would like to thank all Guyanese for the purposeful and peaceful manner with which they participated in the elections. We thank all candidates who competed for office. We thank all political parties, groups, and individuals for their participation. We thank the Guyana Elections Commission and its staff for their sedulous preparation and supervision of the elections. We, all of us Guyanese, can now look forward with confidence to a new era of the democratic governance of our country.
These elections have allowed Guyanese to freely exercise their right to elect representatives of their choice to the local councils, an opportunity that came after a 2-decade gap.
The local government elections of Friday, the 18th of March, were not only the duty of our government, but were a victory for democracy and an opportunity for inclusionary governance. The elections were a return to constitutionality after a lapse of nearly 2 decades under the previous administration. Citizens' entitlement to participate in the decision-making in their municipal and neighborhood councils has now been restored.
The government views these elections as a victory for the nation, whereby NDCs, RDCs, and municipalities can finally work in the interests of citizens, particularly those in rural communities.
The people of Guyana won these elections. That it was a clear demonstration of what we in the APNU AFC administration and what His Excellency had termed the year of democratic renewal. At the level of central government, we had general elections where you had democratic renewal at that level. Then secondly, in a very short space of time after we came into office, we had elections for the 2 house councils in this country. And now at this final level of renewal, the local government elections for neighborhood democratic councils and the tongues. So that at every level of political organization in the country, in a very short space of time, we were able to ensure that democratic renewal.
The elections have also paved the way for the establishment of new tongues at Bartica, Mabaruba, and Letem, to provide public services to propel economic development in the regions and to make sure that each region is administered by a capital tongue with its own mayor and town council.
I'd like to congratulate the successful candidates who will now become councillors within our 62 NDCs and 9 municipalities, upon whose shoulders will rest the perhaps onerous duties of discharging the responsibilities to ensure that our towns and communities are safer, cleaner, and viable.
Meanwhile, in his address to the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry at its 126th annual general meeting, the President said that local government elections have unshackled the business and economic potential of towns and the 10 administrative regions.
The election of our neighborhood democratic councils and municipalities paved the way for a change in the way our towns and communities are governed. They also paved the way for a reappraisal of the contribution they can make towards creating economically powerful regions. modernization has been accompanied by the first major extension in municipal administration in over 4 decades.
In keeping with plans to establish the new tongues at Mabaruma, Letem, and Martika, the president said that local government elections were necessary to kickstart the economy in those areas, which are now set to become economic and business frontiers.
The historic local government elections last Friday, however, changed the system forever. Elections ushered in new towns at Martika, Letem, and Mabaruma. These new towns are intended to wean local authorities off of central government dictation, domination, and dependency. They will allow for a more collaborative and forward-looking model of governance. The new model will eradicate the colonial compound mentality. It will instill a capital town mindset, which emphasizes the role of towns in moving beyond providing traditional municipal services. The new emphasis should be on promoting business, driving economic development, and giving leadership to our regions.
The capital towns, the president said, will be expected to lead economic development in each region by fostering growth in 4 areas: infrastructure, investment, information and communication technology, and innovation.
Ladies and gentlemen, I speak of Guyana's new economic geography, a reality that will emphasize the centrality of our capital towns in fostering economies of scale, which are essential to economic growth. Benefits of our capital towns in rural and hinterland regions will become evident through the generation of rural, non-farm employment, consumption linkages, and urban-rural remittances. Poor folk, who always seem to predominate in rural and hinterland areas, will be able to find employment easier in the nearby capital towns than they would when these opportunities are located further away in the country's sole city.
These capital towns, however small initially, will grow into vibrant economic centers and become the driver of economic diversification. Pagwa, or Holi, the festival of colors, which marks the ushering in of spring and signifies the triumph of good over evil, was celebrated with great enthusiasm by Guyanese from all walks of life on March 23rd. On the eve of Holi, President David Granger joined members of the Hindu Swayamsevak Sangha for a Chowtal session on the lawns of State House. Chowtal is synonymous with this festival. It is a genre of folk music originated from the Bhojpuri region in northern India and has been preserved for over 178 years in Guyana. The head of state said that the festivities associated with the Festival of Holi is an expression of culture that contributes to national unity, and it helps citizens to understand and appreciate the uniqueness of the Guyanese diverse cultural mosaic.
One of the great deficiencies of our country is ignorance. People just do not know much about the beliefs and the customs and the cultures of other people, regardless of what we say. Many people do not really understand. Maybe they tolerate. They know they shouldn't interfere or speak out of turn. But they don't understand the depth of the affinity which we have, and sometimes people make a lot of mistakes when they take others for granted. We are not entitled to be exclusively hateful of other religions. We must be tolerant, because other religions may have truths which we ourselves may not be able to discover. particularly the benefits of compassion, which all religions preach.
On Pagwa Day, the President attended celebrations organized by the Indian High Commissioner at the Indian Cultural Center, where he called on the nation to practice the camaraderie and unity displayed during Pagwa Festival every day.
Today we are celebrating the triumph of good over evil, and the story of Prahalad, which has been recounted both by the High Commissioner and by the former Minister of Legal Affairs, is a story of triumph, and it is worthy of celebration. As Guyanese, we should need to understand each other much better and to share in the joy of this Festival of Colors, the joy of the triumph of good over evil, the joy of coming together without inhibitions and loving and caring for one another.
Holi is a 2-day festival which starts on the night of the full moon in March with a Holi bonfire that concludes the next day after the Carnival of Colors, when people gather at their homes and public places to celebrate. And now let's take a look inside the President's diary. On March 21st, President David Granger attended the 100th birthday celebrations of Mr. Charles Alicock of Herstel in East Bank, Demerara. Mr. Alicock, who was born on March 21, 1916, had often expressed the desire to meet with the President. As such, his relatives wrote to the Ministry of the Presidency inviting them to join in the centenary birthday celebrations. The head of state also participated in a tree planting exercise at the Merriman's Mall organized by the PYARG. He described the activity as an important step that every Guyanese must embrace as Guyana aims to become a leader in sustainable development and embarks on green initiatives.
We launched a program on the 3rd of October 2015 called National Tree Day. But it is more than National Tree Day. It is a policy for the greening of the entire country. And what we saw today here at the Merriman's Ball in Georgetown, I hope will be replicated in all of the regions in this country. As you know, we have 3 new tongues, and we will continue to create tongues so that every region is administered by what I call a capital tongue. And every one of those capital tongues, Mabaruma, Bartica, Lethem, Madhya, must be administered by a tongue which is green. Not only green in terms of vegetation, but also green in terms of energy and solid waste management and all forms of leisure, entertainment for children. We want a completely green environment so that our country will be healthier.
In the spirit of the Easter season, the President and Minister of Social Cohesion, Ms. Amna Ali, distributed kites to children in Georgetown and along the east coast of Demerara. During the course of the week, the President also met with directors of the Winslow Carrington Foundation and members of the Guyana Society for Biodiversity and Ecosystems. And that brings us to the end of this week's program. Thank you for joining me. For regular updates on the Ministry of the Presidency, go to our website, www.motp.gov.gy. Like our Facebook page at Ministry of the Presidency and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at MOTP Guyana. Do have a safe and productive rest of the week. Goodbye.